Thanks a lot for the organizers for inviting me. It's a pleasure being here, and I hope I can contribute to this debate with my talk. So, over the last 15 years, Brazil made impressive gains in socioeconomic inclusion, with 30 billion people being lifted out of poverty since 2001. This was the result of strong income and employment growth, as well as increased social spending and innovative and effective social programs. Bolsa Família, a conditional cash transfers program created in 2003, is the flagship of Brazil's social programs, and had not only contributed to reducing extreme poverty and inequality, but has also led to better education and health outcomes. The current economic and political crisis raises the risk that socioeconomic gains may not be sustained, as rising unemployment and inflation may put lower income households under pressure, and financial adjustment may affect social spending. So, between 2001 and 2014, Brazil has experienced a remarkable reduction in poverty and inequality, with the total poverty rate falling from more than 40% in population in 2001 to 18% in 2014. This implies that more than 30 billion Brazilians have escaped poverty. The reduction in extreme poverty has been also impressive, falling from 15% of population to 3%. Brazil also experienced a rapid decline in inequality over the past decade, with the Gini coefficient of households' incomes falling from 0.59 to 0.51. Brazil's achievements were also of historical significance, in that it was the first time in the history of Brazil that a sustained reduction in poverty and inequality had been achieved. Nevertheless, even after the reduction in poverty and inequality, Brazil remains one of the most unequal countries in the world, with a Gini coefficient higher than in most countries except Colombia and Honduras in Latin America, and a few countries in Africa. So this graph shows the evolution of the poverty rate between 2004 and 2014, and the different factors that explain reduction in poverty rates. These include demographic changes. In particular, this is the fertility change, the fertility rate dropped in Brazil, so there are less children per family. Of course, the family income will increase because of this demographic change. Higher labor market income and higher non-labor market income, which includes contributory pensions and non-contributory pensions, cash transfers and other government transfers. Increases in labor market earnings accounted for 53% of the reduction in overall poverty rates. So this is consistent with what Professor Percio Arida was mentioning, right? So there are other factors important for the reduction in poverty rather than social programs. So the road to prosperity of the majority of poor Brazilians has been through a formal sector job. So in this regard, Brazil is similar to other middle-income countries where labor earnings represent the largest share of income among the poor. And hence, the performance of the labor market is a key determinant of poverty reduction and shared prosperity. Brazil's labor market over the past decade has combined rapid job creation and decreased informality with a considerable compression of wage distribution. In contrast, this is pretty interesting because I was talking about total poverty rates, but when we look at the extremely extremely poor, things are a bit different. So in contrast with the previous evidence, for the poorest Brazilian, social transfers have been more important than labor market in past decades. So increase in social transfers account for 70% of the reduction in extreme poverty rates. So this reflects both increase in the value of benefits as well as higher coverage of the population by social assistance programs. This reflects mostly non-contributory pensions and conditional cash transfers program, so like Bolsa Família. So Bolsa Família is a conditional cash transfers program created in 2003 with the unification of several other social programs. The program provides a monthly stipend to poor families, monthly income per capita below $30 at the time, condition on meeting certain conditions. So this is very important. I will talk about the conditionalities in a bit. So stipend amount depends on number of children, can represent up to 40% of the family income, and since 2012, it includes a bonus to overcome extreme poverty. Targeting, it's based on the Cadastro Único, a single national database of potential beneficiaries of social programs, which contains information on 40% of Brazilian families. It works like a census of the poor. So Bolsa Família beneficiaries are selected from Cadastro based on municipality-level quotas set using poverty maps and households' incomes and demographics. Stipends are distributed directly to beneficiaries and can withdraw using a debit card issued by Caixa Econômica Federal, a government-owned saving bank. So the conditions of the program are related to education and health. So minimum school attendance of at least 80%, so children aged from 6 to 15 years old have to enroll, have to attend school up to 85% of the schooling time. And regarding the health conditionalities, compliance with the vaccination schedule and health checkups are children under 7, prenatal care, and monitoring of breastfeeding mothers. So monitoring and enforcement of program conditions. So since 2006, there have been large efforts since 2003, there have been large efforts to monitor and enforce compliance with program conditions. Conditionalities monitoring involve municipal, state, and federal authorities. Program is enforced through a schedule of warnings, punishment of increasing severity. So the first time the family don't comply with the conditionality, they receive a warning and notification that there is no financial loss. So the second stage, the money is blocked to this family, and the benefit is blocked for 30 days. Then the benefit suspended for 60 days, suspended again, and after the 5th time, the family does not comply with the beneficiary. The benefit is cancelled to this family. So Bolsa Família has expanded from 6.6 to 14 billion families, reaching nearly 55 billion people, or more than 25% of the population. So coverage has increased a lot during this period. Despite Bolsa Família's wide reach, its fiscal cost is less than 0.6% of GDP per year. So given its reach, the Bolsa Família costs comparable favorably to those of other social programs. So moreover, Administrative expenses related to Bolsa Família represent less than 5% of program costs. So the impact of Bolsa Família on the well-being of beneficiaries goes well beyond income support, providing long-term opportunities through its positive effects on schooling and health outcomes. So evaluations of the impact of Bolsa Família suggest that it has had a significant positive effect on beneficiaries, including reducing poverty, particularly extremely poverty and inequality. Bolsa Família accounts for between 10 and 20% of the overall reduction in poverty, depending on the estimates, and for more than a third of the reduction in extreme poverty. Bolsa Família impact on income inequality and the severity of poverty are even stronger. This is to be expected since these benefits are able to push up over the poverty line only those families that were previously close to it. So, and most importantly, Bolsa Família has bring kids to school and keep them there, and increased school enrollment and higher school attendance as well, and lower dropout rates. So, in addition, there has been also other documented effects to Bolsa Família, including reduction on crime rates. Moreover, by targeting women as cash recipients, Bolsa Família strengthens women's financial independence, and strong focus on monitoring of compliance of Bolsa Família is compared a key factor behind the success of Bolsa Família. So there is lots of cross-country comparisons that show that the enforcement is a key for the success of conditional cash transfers in general. And my own research shows that when families receive a warning, so when they are punished for past non-compliance, the attendance increase. Okay, so they are responding to the enforcement of the rules. So the success of Bolsa Família has led to significant expansion of conditional cash transfers around the world, with experts from more than 60 countries visiting Brazil to copy the model. So more than 40 countries have implemented conditional cash transfers after Brazil. Just to illustrate some quotes, so here from the New York Times, Bolsa Família is likely the most important government anti-poverty program that the world has ever seen. And the former president of the central bank said Bolsa Família has already become a highly praised model of effective social policy. Okay, so Brazil growth has, as like Professor Persarida has already highlighted, Brazil's growth has persistently decelerated in recent years. The impulse from decade-old reforms, expanding labor income and favorable external conditions which enable a consumption and credit-led growth has lost steam. So budget revenues have fallen as the consumption boom faded. However, spending has proved far more difficult to adjust given the general social security system and rigidities in expenditure commitments often ensured in constitutional provisions. As a result, the budget position has deteriorated significantly. Declining growth and weak fiscal performance affect Brazil's sovereign credit rating. In 2016, Brazil finds itself requiring a painful macroeconomic and fiscal adjust. The black short-term economics outlook raised the risk that social and environmental achievements may not be sustained. Raising unemployment is likely to put pressure on lower-income households. Raising inflation is eating into the real value of the social transfers, while fiscal pressures accentuate spending trade-offs in the public sectors. So this graph shows the income distribution in Brazil in 2014. According to the World Bank, estimates 30% of the households remain vulnerable to idiosyncratic and macroeconomic shocks that may draw them back into poverty. So over the last 15 years, Brazil had made impressive gains in socioeconomic inclusion as a result of the strong income and employment growth, as well as the innovative and effective social programs such as Bolsa Família. The current economic and political crisis raises the risk that socioeconomic gains may not be sustained, as rising unemployment and inflation may put lower-income households under pressure and fiscal adjustment may affect social spending. Consolidating the socioeconomic gains of the last 15 years required the creation of sufficient, productive, and well-remunerated jobs. This, in turn, will require increasing productivity, stimulating investment and innovation, and ensuring that the labor force is sufficiently skilled. A key obstacle is the low productivity rate in Brazil economy. Between 2003 and 2014, the minimum wage and real wage rose by an average of 68% and 38% respectively, while the productivity rate per work increased only 21%. To achieve this, Brazil needs to confront some long-standing structural problems, including the segmentation of financial markets, lack of long-term credit, and high interest rate, which distort the allocation of capital and hampers private investment. Insufficient competition, lack of trade openness, and poor business environment which sap investments appetite and damped productivity growth. Brazil remains the most closed among all major economies in the world and lags most of its peers in the quality of its business environment. So consolidating the socioeconomic gains of the last 15 years also requires maintaining and potentially expanding social programs. Fiscal adjustment is necessary as revenues have fallen, but spending has proven difficult to adjust due to the rigidities in the constitutional provisions. However, there is a scope for committing social policies if spending is reallocated away from entitlement programs, which largely benefit the better off. As example, social pension funds, contribute. This could include, for instance, reform of the pension system and reduction of subsidies to enterprises, as also Professor Persuadida highlighted. So fiscal adjustment and social progress are not contradictory. In 2014, the share of social assistance transfers directly targeted to the poor was just 8% of the primary general government spending. Adding primary health, early childhood education, and primary education spending, the share increased to 16%. Oh, sorry. To compare, 6 times larger than all social assistance benefits, including rural decisions. The poor and the vulnerable may also benefit from efficiency gains in spending in areas such as education and health. So despite significant gains in education achievements over the past decade, lower-income households continue to be disadvantaged by the low quality of public provided basic education. So to end on a positive note, Brazil finds itself at a crossroad. But there is no reason why the impressive gains in socioeconomic inclusion of the last 15 years should be reversed. However, this will require significant change in Brazil's growth model and its fiscal policies going forward. So thanks.